welcome back to By the Fire podcast, where I, Ken, your host, take you through mythical tales and creatures from across the Black diaspora. So today is an interesting one. I've decided to start telling my own original stories based on the research that I find online. I had a discussion with my partner and he suggested, you find all this research, but the whole premise of By the Fire is that there are stories to be told, so why don't you tell stories? And with my work that I've done with Grim and Perilous Studios for Beyond the Fire, Volume 1 and Volume 2 coming soon, I thought, I think I have the story writing bag. So I thought, let's just try it. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy the story of the Asiki. In the small region of Central Africa live the Asiki. These changelings are no taller than 5 foot and wander the forests desperately searching for their family homes. But how did they reach this predicament? Let me tell you. One naughty human child had been wandering the forest of Libreville in Gabon, a far distance away from safety, when the sun was laying to rest. In its youthful curiosity, the child brushed its fingertips against the tiger wood that enveloped its surroundings. With the sunset barely peeking through the trees, the child failed to notice the Okomi wizard quietly trailing behind. The wizard watched with glee as the child ventured deeper and deeper into the black, now further away from the Ogulwe River, the path that would lead to its home. What's that? It was only evening. Why had the darkness fallen so quickly? Who's there? The wind suddenly grew harsh, and before the child could open its mouth, a cold hand grabbed it by the ankle and whisked the poor child into the silent depths of the woods. The air was thick, and it was clear to the child that it was in unknown territories, with nobody in sight to hear its cries. The wizard brought out its small machete, and in a quick slice, it chopped off the child's tongue. In doing so, the child would not be able to speak of the treatment it was about to go through, nor could it ever mention the wizard to any mortal. The Okume wizard carried the helpless child through the ebony trees, which opened to reveal a secret lair filled with an assortment of powders, spell books, and bones. I cannot even begin to imagine the magical procedures that took place to transform this human child into the Asiki. Oh goodness, it brings me to tears. But if you would like to know, then join my free mailing list at bythefirepodcast.com/subscribe, where those who are courageous enough will find out how the human becomes the Asiki. After this gruesome process, the child would have forgotten its family, friends, and would not even be able to think its own name. The Asiki is then released back into the dark forest without its identity and spends eternity searching for its childhood home. Such a sighting was discovered in the late 19th century in Congo, where a woman was walking along the path when she saw in the distance a figure of a small child stood at the end of the road. Worried for the stranger's safety, she called out, "Enfant, come back!" But the figure did not move an inch, didn't even stir. Continuing forward, the woman turned towards the little one. Little did she know it was an Asiki searching for its home. Without a tongue, it was mute, and seeing the woman, the Asiki turned and wandered back into the forest. Feeling a sense of unease, the woman shook her head in disbelief and carried on towards her destination. The most visible change of the Asiki is its hair. Once short, full of kinks and soft like wool, now became straight, stringy, and hung down their back. If you weren't the Asiki's human mother, then you would not have recognized the small creature. In its hair is placed a comb-shaped ornament fashioned from twisted fibre, created by the Okumu wizard. The wizard mutters incantations found in its book whilst weaving the accessory, spells of desire, wealth, and possession. It was told many moons ago, a hunter in the Congolian forest had discovered the Asiki and was immensely drawn to the ornament in its hair. Whether it was the adrenaline after a successful hunt or powerful wizardry at play, the hunter courageously crept behind the Asiki and snatched the hairpiece. As time went on, the hunter amassed a great fortune from his hunts to the extent that the excess was more than sufficient for his children's children. However, the hunter's heart was heavy. Every night, his mind would fight sleep despite feeling exhausted. Exasperated, he would drift to the window where, without fail, a shadowed child would be walking to the compound in search for its lost item. The hunter had to decide to either return the ornament and lose his riches, or survive the night terrors until his death. Which do you consider a greater importance, earthly riches or peace of mind? Till this day, many Asiki wander the rainforest searching for their home and families, long deceased and long forgotten. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode, this slight detour of how By the Fire podcast will be. Like I said, I'm very new. The last time I was doing consistent storytelling was back when I used to write on Wattpad, and I was 15 then, and that was about 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, goodness. And before that was when I was like 9. So I haven't consistently been writing, but it's been interesting to do so, and I really enjoyed writing this, and it was actually more fun to say what I was writing. Like, storytelling was great. I feel like I'd be a great storyteller. To in my own home, no one's even given me any feedback because this is the first time I'm doing this. Be sure to rate and comment on Apple Podcast and follow on Spotify. You can also listen on SoundCloud and YouTube, and use the hashtag BTFpod so we can continue the conversation online, and I look forward to you joining me for the next episode. Follow at bythefire_pod on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter, as well as By the Fire Podcast on Facebook. You can also join my free mailing list where I post a video with extra information relating to this episode. And if you'd like to financially support, you can support my Ko-fi, KO-FI, where you'll be able to access behind the scene footage and transcripts of every story, depending on which membership tier you join. If you have a creature of folklore you'd like to hear or would like to be a guest on the show, send a submission on my website, www.bythefirepodcast.com. If you scroll all the way down, there'll be a submissions box where you can send me your ideas, and yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Next week, I'll be sending an email to those in my mailing list where they'll be able to receive all these extra tidbits, and yeah, if you want to be a part of that, get to it. Otherwise, I can't wait for you to join me again in 2 weeks' time by the fire. Bye!